The Yankees get stunned by the Rockies while the Dodgers and the Mets wanted to play all night. This is MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, and it starts now.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into MLB Game Night, your daily MLB recaps, as only the Locked On Podcast Network can do it. We cover every single game, every single night. I'm your host, Lindsey Crosby, host of the Locked On Braves Postcast. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. He's Steve Lennox, host of the Locked On Red Sox Postcast. Follow him on the X at Lennox on Baseball. And Steve, today I want to talk about Pete Crow Armstrong maybe being an MVP candidate. Carlos Correa passing out souvenirs on his bobblehead night. Before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So we're going to start off in Colorado. The Rockies don't normally get top billing on this show, but today's a special exception. They host the New York Yankees. One of these teams is a 30-win club. The other one is a 9-win club. The Colorado Rockies beat the Yankees 3-2. And for the second time since I've been hosting Locked On MLB Game Night, here's Paul Holden from Locked On Rockies with his thoughts about the victory.
The day after the Colorado Rockies set the modern MLB record for the worst start through 50 games, they shocked the New York Yankees at Coors Field with big late-game heroics from Ryan McMahon, both on offense and defense, even almost getting thrown out there towards the end on another blown call by officiating this week for the Colorado Rockies. Paul Holden here from Locked On Rockies. Obviously, still lots of work left to be done for the Colorado Rockies, but for this young team to take down a loaded Yankees lineup that in a game that also included an Aaron Judge home run, you'll take that any day of the week, especially in 2025. The young Rockies bullpen with Agnos and Halverson, big innings, and with the Rockies, maybe one of their best players, Jake Bird setting it up, and a young guy having a good day at the yard. All in all, for the Rockies and Tanner Gordon, it was a good day for the Colorado Rockies, a rarity in 2025. Breaking it all down on Locked On Rockies.
Aaron Judge feels like he did everything he could. He hit a home run in here in the fifth, gave Yankees the lead. He's only hitting .397. He's got 45 RBI already. What else can Aaron Judge do to get them the victory if it's not enough to take down the Rockies?
Yeah, and you know what? Feel good. I'm glad we're leading with this one on a Friday night, Lindsey, because Colorado, we haven't talked a lot about them winning a whole hell of a lot of games of late. So they can feel good. They're not going to be swept over the weekend. So you get another big crowd at Coors. They're going to have 3 big crowds over the weekend. You've won a game. They're going to come back because great ballpark, great atmosphere, great fan base. But you take the opener. Now what are the Yankees doing the next 2 games? We wait and see.
Yeah, it's this is not how I expected that series to start off. Obviously, you have to feel like the Yankees are going to come out and probably assert their will over the next 2 games, but we'll see. I'm really curious, and baseball can still surprise you from time to time. Talking about things like surprising you from time to time, Carlos Correa returned from injury, came off the IL today for his first game, and he led the Twins to a 3-1 victory. Here's Brandon Warren of Locked On Twins about exactly what happened in this one.
Ty France absolutely obliterated a first pitch center cut slider from Lucas Erceg 403 feet into the Minneapolis night to give the Twins a 3-1 walk-off win in the series opener at Target Field on Pablo Day and Star Wars night. Your Twins are now 28-22 and just 4 games out of first place. I'm Brandon Warren with your Locked On Twins post-game minute. Kevin Biggio doubled home Kansas City's only run in the first inning, but it was pretty quiet the rest of the way as they went 0 for 10 down the stretch with runners in scoring position. Pablo couldn't quite make it through 6, but got help from a bullpen contingent that threw 3 1/3 scoreless innings with just 1 strikeout. But let's not sleep on Carlos Correa's return either. Homered on the second pitch of his first plate appearance to get the Twins on the board in the second. Also, making France's home run all the more impressive. Urseg had just a 1.23 ERA when he threw that slider. Fun fact, Noah Cameron, the Royals starter, struck out 7 Twins in his 3rd Major League start. Not only was that more than his first 2 starts combined, 6, but it was his 2nd start this season with at least 7 strikeouts. And the first came on April 13th when he was with Omaha at CHS Field taking on the St. Paul Saints. Up next, the Twins will send Zebby Matthews to the mound against Michael Wacha, one of the last men standing in the Royals rotation in game number 2 Saturday afternoon. First pitch is 1:10 p.m. We'll have full coverage of it for you. This is Locked On Twins.
Steve, if you were to tell me there were 2 teams that were kind of going in opposite directions of how I thought their seasons were going to go, feels like these are the teams. The Twins are 15-2 in their last 17 games. Kansas City's like 4-8 in their last 12. I would have had these flipped, like Bobby Witt Jr. with the Royals, all of the injuries the Twins always seem to have. I'd expect it to be the other way around.
Yeah, I think there was a brief stretch where we were talking about Bobby Witt Jr. needs more help in that lineup, and it might have only been for a 3 or 4 day period. They've gone quiet again offensively. And as you mentioned, Minnesota, you mentioned them over their last 17 with 15 wins, but I love the fact that they're now 10 over 500 at Target Field as well.
Mm-hmm.
Win at home, 500 or so on the road, but a good night for the Guardians and a good night for the Twins as they both pick up a little ground on the Tigers in that AL Central, and the Royals are sort of stuck in the mud right now. But again, let's see what this looks like in September, because I look at this division every single day as we look at the standings. We're at Memorial Day. It's time to start looking at the standings almost on a daily basis. I love this division.
The Royals are too good to be where they are all year. I kind of agree with you. September we'll know a lot more, but I feel like it's going to be different than it is right now.
I do wonder from last year, though, with their pitchers, if they're wearing down a little bit. Lugo, Wacha, even Reagan's just a tad right now.
If they all get 5%, 10% diminished from what they were last year, it feels like that's enough of a difference with the offense struggling the way it is to keep them from hitting their potential. I kind of agree with you there. Talking about a team hit their potential, fantastic pitching duel in Atlanta tonight. Padres at Braves. It was the return of Ronald Acuna Jr. Here's my postcast co-host, Jake Mastriani from Locked On Braves, with his thoughts on the pitching duel, what Ronald did, and ultimately the victory by San Diego.
Return of Ronald Acuna Jr. is spoiled as the Atlanta Braves drop another close one on Friday night, this one to the San Diego Padres. Jake Mastriani here from Locked On Braves, and this game started with some fireworks. Ronald Acuna Jr., the first pitch he sees back from injury, he takes it deep and puts the Braves on top, but unfortunately, that was the only run they would score in this one. The offense just did nothing else the rest of the way. Acuna did have another hit in this game. He also threw out a base runner. He did everything that he could. Unfortunately, the rest of the Braves team was just sitting back and watching the show and not really participating. Terrible base running job by Eli White late in the game as well that really cost the Braves a chance to tie this thing up. Raisel Iglesias gives up the go-ahead home run to Manny Machado in the 9th inning. But really, Ronald's return, it was awesome. It was spectacular. But the Braves lose another close one here. We'll talk more about this game over on the Locked On Braves postcast and on next episode of the Locked On Braves.
Ronald's home run to lead off the game, 467 feet, 115.5 off the bat. Both the hardest hit ball and the farthest hit ball for any Braves hitter this year, and it was the very first pitch he saw. Just kind of feels like that's the thing a former MVP is going to do when he comes back finally.
I'll tell you what, just before I connected with you to get the show going, I saw that throw that he made where he got the runner at second. I think I was almost as impressed with the throw where he gunned down the runner than with the home run. But the home run, you gave the numbers right there. Impressive. Yeah. The first pitch, I mean, just ambushed it and, came off Nick Pivetta, who, did turn in a solid outing for the Padres overall.
Yeah, I mean, that is Nick Pivetta, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run. That is the first run he's allowed in 2 starts against the Braves. He went, I think, a 7 scoreless to open the season against Atlanta with, I think, maybe only 1 hit. Chris Sale countered him. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run. His home run, or his 1 run allowed, solo shot to Gavin Sheets. Manny Machado gets 1 in the 9th off of closer Raisel Iglesias. You heard Jake talk about the base running error there. That's kind of all she wrote. More great pitching matchups, though. Michael King and Grant Holmes on Saturday. Spencer Schwellenbach versus Dylan Cease on Sunday. Going to be a real fun one there. Quickly, Mariners at Astros. Game 2 of a 4-game series here. Mariners win this 5-3. Series is tied at 1 game apiece. They've now won 6 of 8. And Cal Raleigh, just continues to be good. There's a 2-out RBI double from Julio in the 7th. Cal Raleigh gets a 2-out, 2-run home run there that kind of just breaks it open, ends up being the winning runs there in a 5-3 victory. I feel much better about where the Mariners are than where the Astros are right now.
Yes, because Kirby is back. Gilbert could be back as well. And you're just wondering where some of these injuries are going to lead to for the Astros. Are they going to be season ending, or are they going to be able to shut down guys for a while and bring them back? But yeah, the Mariners right now have to feel awfully good about where they're at. They sustained it with Kirby just coming back for his first start of the season. But Cal Raleigh, just having a heck of a season. And he's really building on what he's done from last year, got the extension. Love seeing his success. And I love seeing Julio Rodriguez back in the lineup after he was a late scratch before the series opener on Thursday.
Yeah. And then tomorrow, talking about great pitching matchups, tomorrow, Brian Wu versus Framber Valdez. That's going to be fun. Also, Valdez pending free agent. So let's watch what happens there. All right. Final one here I want to get to in this segment was also the longest one of the night. Dodgers and Mets. 13 innings, 7-5 Dodgers victory. Let's hear from our guys over at Locked On Dodgers about what happened in this one and what took so long.
Wow. The Dodgers won their wildest game of the year, but there will be a price to pay. What's up, everybody? This is Jeff Snyder from Locked On Dodgers. Dodgers win in 13 innings, 7-5. They were up 5-2 going into the bottom of the 9th inning. Tanner Scott picked a bad time to have his worst game of the year, his second bad game of his last 3. Gave up 3 runs, gave up the lead, and then nobody did anything for a few innings. Well, lots of people did lots of things. Nobody scored. And eventually you have Luis Garcia going 2 1/3 to get through the game, gets out of a bases loaded 1-out jam in the 12th, and then in the 13th, a quick inning after the Dodgers finally broke through in the top of the 13th, RBI double by Teoscar Hernandez and run scoring flyout by Andy Pages to score 2 runs, and then a quick 1-2-3 inning. Garcia, 15 pitches, even though it was 2 1/3 innings. Just wild game. So much crazy plays you've never seen before that we're going to talk about on the next episode of Locked On Dodgers. On YouTube, wherever you get podcasts, check out. There was so much about this game. We may spend the whole episode talking about this game, regardless of what happens the rest of the weekend. So check it out every weekday morning.
No runs were scored in extras until the 13th. I can't think of a time I've seen that since they instituted the extra runner in extra innings. Since it's been in place, I haven't seen that happen yet.
Yeah, and the Mets were just inept. They get 3 in the 9th inning, as Jeff mentioned, to tie it up. Jeff McNeil, 2-run triple. But they left 2nd and 3rd in the 10th. They left the bases loaded in the 11th. Pete Alonso, after an intentional walk to Juan Soto, hits into an inning-ending double play in the 12th inning. And then they just went down quietly in the 13th inning. I give the Dodgers all the credit in the world because they finally were able to come through. And it's such an advantage for the visiting team in extra innings as you start things off. And they got the 2 runs. They didn't just get the 1 in the 13th. They got the 2. That makes a big difference.
If I remember right, since that rule change, road teams have a better winning percentage in extras than home teams do. And that's not something you see really in any other sport, but baseball right now with this rule. So maybe it does need to be tweaked in the next CBA a little bit. Side note here, Juan Soto, 0 for 5 in this game. He's now 5 for 40 in his last 11 games with no extra base hits and 2 RBI. Just a little bit of a worrisome little trend there. All right, in just a second, I want to talk about the Angels, who just are apparently a juggernaut. We'll do that next, right here on MLB Game Night. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action because FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game, both before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. What would it look like if you could combine live prop bets mid-game based on how the action's unfolded? Or if you have a read on who's heating up in the game, throw in a same-game parlay at the same time. So if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay, Steve, Marlins at Angels, start of a series here. The Angels were coming in with a 7-game win streak. That did not stop. It's now 8 games. They win the opener 7-4. Here's our buddy John, fellow host of MLB Game Night, but he also is one half of Locked On Angels. Here's his thoughts on the victory.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins in a row for the Angels. What's going on, everybody? John Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. 8 wins in a row, an 8-game win streak. Fantastic outing from the Angels tonight. They get Yusei Kikuchi, his first win of the season. He deserved one a long time ago, but glad to see him get that. But listen to this. Taylor Ward now has 9 consecutive games with an extra base hit. That ties a franchise record with Darren Erstad. You might have heard of him. Plus, they break a franchise record and set a new one with 7 consecutive multi-home run games in a row. Plus, the last time they had an 8-game win streak, 2014, the last playoff year. They had a 10-game win streak in late September of that year. Not saying it, but they are back to 500 after 50 games, just under 1/3 of the season. Great to start there. Start at 500. Keep it going, guys. We're going to have more on Locked On Angels, and we hope you'll join us.
At this point, I don't know what to say about the Angels. Like, they're back in it. Yusei Kikuchi, I didn't realize he didn't have any wins this year. He goes 5 2/3 scoreless. But, also 1 out away from the quality start. You hate when that happens.
And Kenley Jansen did what he does best. He made every Angel fan out there sweat a little bit. Did notch his 11th save of the season, but walked a couple and left 2 on in the 9th inning. But again, they're playing well. They're playing without Mike Trout. Heard an interview with Ron Washington on SiriusXM's baseball channel earlier this week. He's starting to ramp up. I go to bed thinking that Mike Trout can only help this team going forward, right? And now they've won 8 in a row. They're at 500. Keep going. Just keep going. And it's great to see John with the post-game recap with a smile on his face.
Yes, I'm so happy when we get people who typically have struggled, right? We get to see Paul from Rockies. We get, like the rare days we get a happy show from Booney or from Pirates and things like that. Okay, moving on a little bit here. Phillies at A's. This was Phillies put up 3 in the 9th here. And the big thing for me, Trey Turner, 17 career leadoff home runs. Obviously, he has one tonight, but this is the first time he's done it since September 2021. I know he hasn't been leading off the entire time, right? Kyle Schwarber was a leadoff thing there, but it feels like that's incredibly long for the gap between leadoff home runs. Phillies end up winning this 4-3. And is this more good job by the Phillies to take the victory, a game you should win, or more bad luck for the A's? You were swept in 4 games by the Angels, and now you lose this one too.
Well, the Athletics showed some fight. They got 3 runs in the 9th inning. Tanner Banks had to come in for Jordan Romano. He struck out Lawrence Butler to end the game, but earlier in the inning, Nick Kurtz hit a 3-run home run to make it a 1-run game, number 5 for Kurtz. Alexander then had a hit against Romano. That chased him from the game. Phillies got those runs in the top of the 9th inning. Turned out they needed them.
Yeah.
Because that Turner home run, as you alluded to start off the game, was the only run that they had. But you feel for the Athletics right now. I mean, they were right there. They made a whole bunch of moves as well. As we were touched on, I think you kind of alluded to it on Thursday's show. J.J. Bleday did go down. I think it was Seth Taylor who was DFA'd. Mm-hmm. They've got to figure out. Seth Brown. They've got to figure out. I mean, in a 1-0 deficit in the 9th inning, they used Mason Miller. He gave up some of those runs in that top of the 9th inning. They've got to figure out different ways. They've got to figure out just a way to get in the win column right now, as a losing streak is now at 10.
Yeah, it's absolutely tough. Flip side, Phillies have won 8 in a row. They're 15 games over 500, highest they've been all year. And that combined with the Dodgers beating the Mets means that Phillies leading the division gets a little bit bigger. We'll see what happens. I do want to point out in this one, we talked about the pitching matchups like later, like we talked about Sale, Pivetta, things like that. Zach Wheeler, 6 2/3 scoreless. Jacob Lopez for the A's, 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. I could not pick Jacob Lopez out of a lineup.
I did a little on him before the game as well. I'm like, oh, look at this guy. Yeah.
And he gave them 7 innings against the Phillies with 1 run. So shout out to him for that there. Okay. Guardians at Tigers. Guardians win this one 3-1. Here's Justin Latta of Locked On Guardians about the victory.
On the day the Cleveland Guardians announced that their steadiest starter the last year and a half is going to be out for the year with Tommy John surgery, his immediate replacement steps up and the Guardians beat the Tigers again. This is Justin Latta from Locked On Guardians. Slade Ciccone once again steps up, goes 6 innings, super efficient, shuts down a really, really good Tigers lineup. One of the best offenses in baseball so far this year. Yep. Efficient start for Slade. His slider's looking really good. The delivery changes are starting to really show up there with Slade and the Guardians. And Hunter Gaddis comes in the 8th inning on a night where Cade Smith and Tim Herron, who has been struggling, wasn't available, gets both innings. He ends up going the 7th and the 8th on 24 pitches. So the Guardians able to bridge getting 6 innings from Slade Ciccone to Hunter Gaddis all the way to the 9th to Emmanuel Clase, who's figured things out. Jose Ramirez stays hot. Carlos Santana stays hot. Stephen Kwan stays hot. The Guardians' core of their offense gets it done. They get 2 runs early off of Jackson Jobe, and now they've already guaranteed a split with the series of the Tigers. So the road trip that got off to a disaster start in Cincinnati already looks good on the back end. If they split with the Tigers, they do no worse in this series than they came in with. They got a chance on Saturday night to take the win with Luis Ortiz on the mound. Come back on the next episode of Locked On Guardians for more.
Talking about pitching matchups in the series here. Ortiz versus Casey Mize on Saturday. Allen versus Skubal on Sunday. But here's my question I want to ask you. Tigers, I've now scored 1 run across the last 18 innings. They're 6-4 in the last 10, but 2-game losing streak. The division leads down to 4 games. Should we be worried, or is this just a minor blip against a division rival?
It's a blip, yes, and they've been playing terrific. But this is not going to be a division, I don't think, that the Tigers – of all the teams that we've touched on now, Twins, Royals, Guardians, Tigers, the Tigers to me are the only one that can win this division by 5 games or more. I don't know that any of the other 3 can. Obviously, they can get hot again. I mean, the Twins have been hot. The Royals had a stretch. But the Tigers, to me, can be the most consistent of these 4. So a blip in the road, yes, but I really do expect this division to go to the final 2 weeks in September.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Tigers had opportunities here. Jackson Jobe had 1 earned run across 5 innings. They went 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. They were the reason that they lost. I feel like, yes, Kwan had an RBI single in the 9th. Ramirez did his things that he normally does, but the Tigers also kind of underperformed. Feels like a blip. Something that's definitely not a blip at this point is Pete Crow Armstrong. He had a massive game tonight in the 13-6 victory, come from behind victory by the Cubs over the Reds in Cincinnati. And Sam Olber of Locked On Cubs has some pretty lofty goals for PCA this year.
MVP. The Chicago Cubs come back in Cincinnati on the back of Pete Crow Armstrong. I'm Sam Olber from the Locked On Cubs podcast. They say that Memorial Day is the first checkpoint of the Major League season. Well, it's Memorial Day weekend, and at the first checkpoint of the season, the Chicago Cubs have the National League MVP as it currently stands. Plenty of baseball left in Pete Crow Armstrong. Cubs were down 4-0. Pete made it 4-2. Cubs were down 6-2. Tucker made it 6-4. Pete made it 8-6. Shout out to Seiya with a big 3-run homer to break it open. Dansby as well. But this game is about this kid, this team. We talked about getting a superstar in Kyle Tucker, and we got one. Now you have 2 superstars. That really helps because we know this Cubs team has flaws. Starters, bullpen, they have flaws. They got a lot of work to do. But what makes mistakes a lot easier? What fills flaws? What fixes them? Superstars. And like I said, the Cubs currently have 2, and one of them, as it's Memorial Day weekend, is the current MVP in the National League. Crazy stuff going on.
Pete Crow Armstrong, 14 home runs. He hit 2 tonight, but 14 home runs, 45 RBI. Is he the National League MVP right now?
I have a hard time trying to figure out what his final numbers for the year are going to be. I mean, you're looking at 30 home runs, 90 plus RBIs,
and
really
also
maybe
the
30
best
and 100.
defensive outfielder in baseball. Like
Yeah.
I think he's second in baseball and outs above average right now, behind only Nick Allen of the Braves.
Yeah, and I was just scrolling through that box score. I mean, Suzuki's having a great year too. He's got 13 home runs and he actually has 1 more RBI than Pete Crow Armstrong. Right. Yes, absolutely in the conversation. I love Sam's report there. Met fans are going to grind forever on Pete Crow Armstrong because they traded a future superstar away. As Sam said, for Javier Baez, who's having a resurgence in Detroit, but he just had 60 days or so in the big leagues with the Mets. That was a trade. Yeah. Ooh, you're gonna feel that one for a while in New York because that's a guy who could have patrolled center for many, many years. And as big as a star he's going to be in Chicago, I think he would, he'd be even bigger. He'd be on billboards in New York right now, I think.
I just went and pulled the odds real quick. Shout out to sponsors of the program, FanDuel here. Shohei Ohtani, minus 110. Fernando Tatis, plus 450. And then Corbin Carroll, Kyle Tucker, PCA, all tied at plus 1,200. So he's tied for third best odds for MVP in the National League as of right now.
I think that's well, I mean, it's
it's still really early, obviously.
Yeah, but they always seem to be right there. And that makes you can certainly make that argument. That states the case pretty well.
There you go. All right, just a second. We come back. I want to get to Diamondbacks Cardinals. The Cardinals have been a juggernaut. We'll do that next, right here on MLB Game Night. Final segment of MLB Game Night. Going to go kind of quickly through a couple games that we haven't touched on yet. Diamondbacks at Cardinals. First game of a 3-game set. Cardinals hold on, 4-3 win. So they avoid a third straight loss. They had 2 straight losses. Diamondbacks now do have 3 straight losses. Miles Mikolas, this veteran pitching for the Cardinals continues to be great. 6 innings, 1 run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Arizona made it tight. I said they held St. Louis held on. Gabriel Moreno had a pinch hit, 2-out, 2-run homer in the 9th. But Ryan Helsley holds on, gets the save. Just 14-4 over the last 8 games. Cardinals have kind of been a juggernaut.
Giants at DC, Lindsay, blanked the Nationals 4-0 in game 1 of that series. And the Giants are now 5-2 in their last 7. With the loss, the Nats 5-game win streak comes to an end. Mackenzie Gore 2-5 with the loss. 6+ innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 9 strikeouts. Does take the loss. Landon Roop, 3 relievers combining on the shutout win for the Giants. Roop, second straight scoreless outing, has allowed just 4 earned runs in his 4 starts in May so far, covering 22 innings pitched.
Kind of feel bad for Mackenzie Gore. That's a Jacob deGrom stat line there, right? Jacob deGrom with the Mets stat line. Brewers in Pittsburgh take on the Pirates. Second game of a 4-game set. Pirates walk them off in the bottom of the 10th, 6-5. So the series is now tied. William Contreras gave the Brewers a 9th inning lead with a home run, up 4-3. O'Neal Cruz comes around in the bottom half of the inning, gets his own home run to tie it up at 4. That was his second homer of the game. First time he's ever had 2 home runs in his career. I really feel like since moving to center field, he has become a different player, and I love it. Alexander Canario, RBI single, ties the game at 5 in the bottom of the 10th. Adam Frazier then scores on a wild pitch, so that's always fun. This is something Skeens, no decision. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Left with a 2-1 lead, but they just couldn't hold on to it.
It's an interesting one there. Brewers fall to a game below 500. The Rays pick up a win, 3-1 against the Blue Jays, and with that, the Rays have now won 3 in a row. They've won 3 of the first 4 meetings with Toronto. We'll see if that plays into their advantage down the road. But Drew Rasmussen, I'm really starting to pay attention to him. 3-4 with the victory, 6 innings, no runs, 3 strikeouts. Brandon Lau, 2-run home run in the 3rd. 9th of the season. Curtis Mead added a solo shot. in the fourth to make it 3-0, and Meade his second on the season. Rays 0 for 7 runners in scoring position. Jays had opportunities, just 1 for 9 runners in scoring position.
Nobody really wanted to win that one, but somebody has to. And Rasmussen, the Rays do this every year. They build a guy every year who ends up being a fantastic starter. It's really impressive. Rangers at White Sox, first game of a 3-game set. White Sox take this, right? 4-1 victory. This broke an 11-game losing streak they had against the Texas Rangers. This is the first time they beat the Texas Rangers since June 2023, which is wild. But Sean Burke, now 3-5, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts. Tyler Mahle for the Rangers goes 5 innings, 3 runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. Rangers have lost 5 in a row, and in this 5-game losing streak, they have 9 total runs. That just not a great place to be.
Not getting it done. Speaking of runs, Red Sox erupting for 19 in what turned into a 19-5 rout of the Orioles. And what was supposed to be game 1 of a doubleheader, they pushed the doubleheader back to Saturday now. They did not play Friday night. Rafael Devers kept a 5-run 6th inning with a 3-run home run for the Red Sox. Then they erupted. Devers had an RBI single in the 8th inning. Later in the frame, a grand slam, 2 home runs, 8 runs batted in. Now 47 RBIs to lead the American League. The Red Sox, 19 runs, 20 base hits, sent 18 batters to the plate in that 8th inning. Scored 13 runs on 12 hits. One note, Alex Bregman did leave the game in the 5th inning after a single. It was doomsday. Everyone thought, put Alex Bregman on the DL or on the IL until August. Well, it's right quad tightness. Alex Cora says he's day-to-day right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the start that he's had. You don't want to lose him. My one thought I just had, and I feel terrible for thinking about this, is if he does spend some time on the IL, does he maybe skip the opt-out and stick around for one more season? That was the first thought I had, and I hate this, the first thing I went to, but I had that thought right there. Fantastic day of games. We've got more stuff coming up tomorrow. Any final thoughts on the day that was across Major League Baseball, Steve?
I'm glad Ronald Acuna Jr. is back. I don't usually go on the websites, but if I can find a Carlos Correa Jedi bobblehead, I might think of parting with a few dollars. Maybe it's not in the next few months. Maybe I'll let that price go down a little bit before I become a buyer on the market.
The number of dudes that have had great games on their bobblehead days is amazing this year. Folks, thanks for joining us on MLB Game Night. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We hope you come back and visit us next time, because MLB Game Night is every single game, every single night. For Steve Lennox, I'm Lindsey Crosby. This has been MLB Game Night.